It was just another Friday night. 23-year-old Kayla Monroe had gone out with friends in downtown Phoenix. She laughed, danced, and took pictures like any normal college student blowing off steam after a long week. She wasn't reckless. In fact, she was one of the most cautious in her group. Always shared her location. Always texted when she got home. That night, just after midnight, Kayla ordered an Uber to take her back to her apartment. She waved goodbye to her friends, got in the car, and was never seen alive again. This is the chilling story of a young woman who did everything right and still ended up the victim of a calculated predator hiding in plain sight. Kayla Monroe was a bright and ambitious student at Arizona State University. She had just started her final semester studying communications and was working part-time at a local coffee shop. Her friends described her as warm, independent, and always alert. She knew the dangers of walking alone, especially at night. That's why she always used rideshare apps instead of walking or getting random taxis. So, when she called an Uber that night, March 8, 2025, no one thought anything was wrong. She even texted her roommate on my way back. Be there in 20. But that message would be the last anyone ever received from her. When Kayla didn't return home that night, her roommate was immediately worried. By morning, she called Kayla's friends. None of them had heard from her. Her phone went straight to voicemail. At first, some thought she may have stayed with someone or just needed space. But by noon, when her work called asking where she was, reality began to set in. A missing person report was filed that afternoon. The first clue came from her Uber account. Kayla's final ride had been accepted by a driver named Eric Lawson, a 34-year-old man who had been driving for Uber for just under 2 years. He had a clean record and no prior complaints. When police contacted him, Eric said he dropped her off near her apartment complex as requested. But something about his tone raised red flags. Detectives pressed for GPS data from his Uber route. And that's when things took a dark turn. Instead of heading toward Kayla's apartment, Eric's vehicle made an unexpected detour 15 miles west into a remote stretch of desert outside the Phoenix metro area. When confronted, Eric claimed he had gotten lost, then insisted that Kayla asked to be dropped off at a different location. But her friends and family knew she would never ask that. Investigators brought in search dogs, drones, and forensic teams. It didn't take long to make a discovery. Just off a dirt road in that desert area, they found a shallow grave. Inside, wrapped in a tarp, was the body of Kayla Monroe. She had been strangled. Her personal belongings, phone, wallet, jacket, had been set on fire and buried nearby. It was clear someone had tried to destroy evidence. Back in town, Eric Lawson was arrested and charged with her murder. Under interrogation, Eric cracked. He confessed that this wasn't a random act. He had been watching Kayla for weeks, possibly months. She had taken a ride in his car once before, weeks earlier. He remembered her, looked up her name, followed her social media. He became obsessed. Authorities later discovered that Eric had created fake driver accounts using different phone numbers and names. With those, he would keep tabs on Kayla's ride requests, waiting for the right moment to accept a ride she booked. On March 8th, he got lucky. Her location pinged, and he accepted the ride request using a spoof driver account. He was her match, and Kayla had no idea the man pulling up to pick her up wasn't who he said he was. The case made national headlines and shook the public's trust in rideshare safety. Eric had no violent criminal history, no flags in the Uber system. But he was a tech-savvy manipulator who knew how to work around the system. Uber later confirmed that he had used stolen identities to create alternate accounts. Even worse, Kayla's family discovered he had messaged her anonymously through Instagram 2 days before she died, pretending to be a fan of her podcast project. It was all part of a slow, calculated plan. Kayla's parents spoke out publicly, demanding tougher safety protocols from rideshare companies. They described her as a light in every room, someone who had so much more life to live. Her mother, in tears, told reporters she did everything right. She was smart, cautious, and always aware. And still, she didn't make it home. That's what makes the story so devastating. Because we often tell ourselves that if we're careful, we'll be safe. But Kayla's story proves that sometimes the danger is already one step ahead. Eric Lawson is currently being held without bond and is facing charges of first-degree murder, kidnapping, identity theft, and obstruction of justice. Prosecutors have announced they are pursuing the death penalty, citing the premeditated nature of the crime and Eric's deliberate use of technology to stalk his victim. Kayla Monroe should still be here. She should be graduating this year. starting her career, living her life. But one man's obsession turned into something far darker than anyone could have imagined. This isn't just a story of a murder. It's a warning. To always double-check your ride. To always trust your instincts. And to understand that sometimes, even when everything seems normal, something terrible can still be waiting behind the wheel. If you found this story moving, hit the like button and subscribe for more real-life crime stories just like this one.